Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Confidence Leads to Success. I have got a phenomenal woman here with me. I know I love every single woman I have on my interview series, but Ryann Dowdy is so inspirational, and her candid story and how she is so openly sharing. She had everything she dreamed of. Like she had six-figure salary, happily married, she had kids, she had a nice home. But one day she still woke up feeling completely unfulfilled. And she knew that something wasn't right. And she realized it was because she was chasing a dream that wasn't hers. And she decided she's an expert in sales and she created a Facebook community of over 77,000 women. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And she started to follow her dreams and helping other women to create profitable businesses. And that's what resonated with me. As you all know, I am an advocate for women empowerment. And when I see women who are not worried about other women's success, I want them in my life, in my tribe. So welcome, Ryann. It's so good to have you here.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited.
It's so good to have you, and I love your story and how you had everything, but that didn't mean that was the happiness, and you had to follow your heart. And I'd love you to share how you found more success all around in life by following your dream.
That is a great question, and it's sometimes still a journey that I feel like I'm still on, even years later, if I'm 100% honest. So, yeah, I mean, as you shared, did all the things, checked all the boxes. I always told people that I was a rule follower, right? Like I did everything. They were like, this is the path to success. And I'm very good. Like, give me the to-do list and I will do it, right? I will check all of the boxes. I will do them in order. I'm an overachiever, all the things. And then just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And instead of really like looking to figure out what was wrong externally, I made it internal, right? There was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of shame, there was a lot of frustration. Why can't I just be happy with what I have? So instead of realizing that it was, society's version of success I was chasing and not my own, I spent probably a solid year beating myself up over it first. And then it really didn't change until I started networking and I started talking to other women and realized that that it was actually very normal. And a lot of women were feeling this. And this was back, several years ago before the Great Resignation had a name. But I realized a lot of women were in similar situations as myself and were exiting the corporate world in droves for all of the reasons, right? For all of the reasons that I just described, that society's prescription of success, society's idea of success, that the roadmap that we were given wound up not being the thing. So I went searching. I thought it was another job. I thought it was another career. And that's when I discovered online entrepreneurship. And then I can use all of these skills that I've spent 15 years fine tuning to actually build a business, and not just build a business that fulfilled me financially, but also really allowed me to help other women. And that's where I really started to get attached to this idea of helping women become the best version of themselves and shedding all of the garbage that we pick up along the way as we grow up.
That's right. I mean, some of the garbage we have got is inherited before we were even born. So, and we live with it. So, being able to create, I mean, it must be so satisfying for you to create this safe place for women to connect, work together, and harness their power. It's so good.
It really is fun. There are like pinch me moment days where I'm like, is this a thing? Like, are we actually making money doing this? Is this actually my life? Like I have those moments often.
Oh, it's so good though. I mean, I feel quite honored to be a woman because, like you also say, when we work together, we are invincible. And
Amen.
it is so true. Tell us all about like how you started to notice notice this was your mission. How did you find your why? Because a lot of the ladies, new entrepreneurs especially starting in their journey, they seem to find that, this you need to have that why. How did you find that?
It's actually very interesting that you say that, because I don't 100% think that that's true, that you need a why to make a change. Because I will tell you, the reason that I wanted to make a change was simply to get out of a corporate job. I didn't have a big why, right? Like I had a job that I didn't love. And my whole story was I grew my business as a side hustle. So I was the director of sales for a digital advertising agency, ran a team that did about $4 million in sales, and ran that team. And all I wanted to do was get out. Right? There was no big emotional why. It was, I have a skill set. I'm good at this thing. People need it. This is what I'm going to do. So like my why evolved over time, right? Because in the beginning it was selfish, right? It was just get me out of this job. What can I do? What do I have that is of value that allows me to serve others that people will pay me for? Not in a greedy way, right? But in a way like what skills are valuable that people will pay for. And so that's where it started. And then it just continued to evolve and evolve and evolve. A lot of it, Elif, if I'm honest, it was a lot of reading. It was a lot of coaching. It was a lot of really understanding. Because again, in the corporate world, I didn't do any real personal development. I did a lot of professional development, right? Like all the trainings, all the conferences, like I was constantly learning, but I never did the personal development on me, on us as humans, as who we are, as
it starts from inside, doesn't it? That starts from inside.
And so I was already out of my corporate job before I think I even realized that was the case. So that's when I went really looking for connection to my inner self, my inner being, who I am as a human. And it even took me several more years to really get where I'm at right now, because again, at the time it was like, what am I good at? And I don't know if you've read the book, The Big Leap by Gay
Yes,
Hendricks.
I have.
Okay. Yeah. So he talks about the difference. And for those of you that haven't read it, go read it. It's a super easy read.
Yes.
But he talks about the difference between our zone of excellence and our zone of genius. And so often as women, we operate, or just as a society as a whole, I'm sure this is not specific to women, we operate in our zone of excellence, things that we are really good at. But our zone of genius is the kind of work that we're good at, but that really doesn't feel like work, that allows us to bring our entire self to the thing. And so what I learned was, while teaching sales is something I am very good at and something that I enjoy doing, it didn't allow me to use that true gift, that true purpose, that true connection of really helping women become the best version of themselves, because sometimes it has nothing to do with sales is what makes them the best version of themselves. So yeah, I can help you build a business all day long, but if you have a business that makes money and you're miserable, it doesn't matter, right? Like for me, it's the same as having that corporate job. So that's really kind of where
so money isn't the happiness. I love that you say that, because money doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. It's got to have that's the balance of, you have to be happy with money, not because of you've got money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it sounds so cliche. And before I was in a situation where I'm in now, I always thought that was, they always say that money doesn't buy happiness. Like those people sure are like happy. But when you realize that like, you have to be happy before, and this is anything, right? Like a marriage isn't going to make you happy if you're not happy with yourself, right? Money isn't going to make you happy. A career or a business, right? Like none of the external things are going to be happy until you're right inside, which is why I love how you're talking about confidence in this, because that's an inside job, right? Like we're waiting for our external circumstances to make us feel confident, right? Once I sign clients, once this happens, once I have X number of people in my Facebook group, X number of Instagram followers, X number of people on my email list, X number of downloads to my podcast, whatever it is that you're doing, that's what you're waiting to make you feel confident or to make you feel happy. And none of those things are going to do it for you, at least not long term.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because I hear a lot of women holding back from their desires and the way they want to live their life, because they think they need to do yet another course, they need to do another program, they need to finish a degree before they can actually just get on with it and start what they are good at.
Yep.
It is so good.
I mean, I did it, somewhere in my career, I wound up going to get a master's degree. It was back in, 08, 09. So like when the economy crashed back then, I was selling radio advertising, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have like zero marketable skills. I have a communications degree, and, so I could sell radio. Like, what am I going to do? So I went back to school, and I thought that was going to make me more marketable. Spoiler alert, it didn't. It just is, it's an inside job. Confidence, your ability to get stuff done, it all comes from the inside. And when I can figure out how to really articulate it in a clear way, I will. But for me, it was small decisions. Like going back to your original question, like how did you determine your why? It was really looking at those activities that I knew that I could do all day. right? Like one of my favorite things to do is to host retreats, small, intimate, like opportunities. Like I could do that all the time. I could literally host a retreat every single weekend and come back feeling more refreshed than I was when I got there, which is totally opposite. Because in my corporate career, we used to host big sales conferences and stuff. And at the end of the conference, I didn't feel rejuvenated and excited. I was exhausted, right?
Yeah,
So
that's the
that to me,
difference.
yeah, that's the difference. Like I could, at the end of, I just hosted a retreat back in January, and I thought that afterwards I would feel so exhausted, and I didn't. Like I came home so excited and like my cup so full and my heart so full, and just felt so connected to these women that I had the opportunity to travel with and spend time with. And to me, like that's the true difference of just doing something to make money or doing something because you think that you should, and then doing the thing that really is your why.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about what happens in these retreats. You made me like intrigued with it.
So what's really fun is because our retreats are for, we say high achieving women, thought leaders, community leaders, business leaders. These are women that are, theoretically successful on paper, but never take time for themselves. So the retreats, Elif, are really about taking space to think, to problem solve, to be creative, to have fun. Like our retreat in January was in Scottsdale. Like we went hiking in the afternoon, and one of the gals, we were going to go out to dinner on Saturday night. And she was like, I go out to dinner all the time at home. Like it'd be kind of fun to just order takeout and hang out. So yes, we get stuff done, but the ultimate, the definition of a retreat is to take a step back. And when you're busy and you have a lot on your plate and you have a full life and you have a lot of goals and a lot of ambition and all the things that all the women listening and watching this are going to feel, you think about when was the last time that I took time for myself to really reflect where I'm at and what I'm doing. And we had, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but like one woman came back and quit her job, another woman came back and completely rewrote her job description in her business and hired 2 people. So for me, it's really about when we put distance between the day-to-day life, where some days we're just putting one foot in front of the other to survive, and surround ourselves with other really smart, talented women, we start to see gaps and opportunities. So that's really the goal. So we spend day 1 is really all like hot seats, like you get time dedicated to you and the whole group gives you feedback. And then day 2, we do some activities around, really analyzing your time. And we did the zone of genius exercise in our last one from Gay Hendricks' book. And then in the afternoon, we did fun stuff. And then we wrote our personal mission statements and our personal vision and values. So making sure that your career is lining up with who you are as a person, I think is really important.
Wow, it's just like everyone needs to do kind of thing, because when you're starting a business, it's really good to have that clear,
Right.
what do you want, statement, and create a mission and vision for yourself. Because once you have that vision stated, then it kind of helps you what to say yes or no.
Amen.
Because the opportunities keeps popping up in front of you, and then you will know if it's going to help your mission, whatever that comes to your way. It's so good.
Exactly. And we start with the personal mission, vision, and values before we get into the business. And that's something I haven't always done. Like that's a new shift for me. Because again, I was always all business all the time. How do we make our businesses grow? But yeah, I find a lot of women, I'm sure, down paths, they don't know how they got there, and they don't really like that they're there. And it's because they don't add up with their personal mission, vision, and values, because we've never been taught to do that. Right? When you say, what's your mission statement? Everyone thinks of companies, right? We go Google like, oh, what's Nike's mission statement? What's Southwest's mission statement, right? But it's like, what's your personal mission statement? And The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, which is a book I read a bajillion years ago and circled back to this year at the urging of my coach that I work with. And I was I was super excited the book was totally different. You see things differently at different phases of your life, but he was the one who kind of really inspired me about this personal mission statement. It's like, it's true. We focus so much on our businesses and our careers that we never stop to ask, does this stack up with my personal mission?
That is so good, because when you have got internal issues going on, it's going to affect everything you do, whether it's for business or your family or your relationship with your friendship. It's all going to come out, because what's inside will always reflect outside. So I love that you say the confidence is an inside job.
It absolutely is. There is no circumstance in the world that can make you confident, right? You make you confident. Your thoughts make you confident. Your belief in yourself makes you confident. Your love for yourself makes you confident. And there are things that you can do to improve. But yeah, I find a lot of women, and I'm sure you see this as well, they're waiting for the outside circumstances to make them feel good.
Yes, a lot of them, including myself, I have been through this myself, that we seem to wait for the external
Of course.
acknowledgement, external approval
Yep.
to say, yes, I am good. Am I good? Yes, I am good. Oh, she says
Yeah.
I can do this. Oh, well, then I will do it. But you don't really need that external validation to
Mm-mm.
know your worth and
Yep.
to know that you're enough. It's so important.
And it's not easy. I mean, again, for those of you listening and watching, Leaf and I can sit here and have this conversation with you. But I don't think it's work that ever ends. At least it hasn't ended for me. So, I mean, I
No,
can
it
sit
doesn't.
here, I can say these things, but I still have the days where I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing? People are going to figure out, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Like I still have those days every single day. So I think that's something that I see a lot too, is people are women, especially women are waiting to arrive at that point where they don't feel the doubt and the fear and the negative self-talk. And as far as I know, it doesn't go away. It's just, we don't let it drive. Right? Like for me, it can come along, it can sit in the passenger seat, it can run its mouth all it wants to, but we can't let it drive. And I think that's the difference. Is sometimes I see women who are struggling with confidence or imposter syndrome, which we could have a whole conversation about that, or all the different things that come up for us. We're letting that drive. For me, it's like, it's not gone. It doesn't go away. If somebody knows how, call me, please, but it doesn't go away.
It does pop up
It's
very often, but like you said, you don't allow it to control. You
Exactly.
just don't
It can
allow it
sit
to
in the passenger
control.
seat. It can get in the car. It can run its mouth all at once, but it's not in control.
What do you say to yourself when that comes, that guilt or whatever you call it?
Mhm.
What do you tell?
So again, this is a learning process for me. Before I used to resist, right? It was like, oh no, we don't want to think that. We don't want to think that. That's well, the first thing we learn about our thoughts is like, they're really powerful. And then we realize that we have bad ones, and then we're like, oh my gosh, make it stop. And that's the whole idea of what resists persists. So I like to think this is the best visual I've ever seen for this, is to really view it like your brain, your lizard brain, right? Like view it like a toddler. Okay. And if a toddler has a knife, we don't just let the toddler run around with the knife, but we also don't shame the toddler for having the knife. We stop the toddler and we say, that's not safe. And we turn them around and we redirect them, right? Like that's what we have to do to ourselves, right? Because instead, what we do in the beginning of this, at least what I did was, I would catch the negative thoughts and then I would beat myself up for the negative thoughts.
I
And I
love
had to
that
start,
though, being able to control and self-regulate your emotions
sure.
in that way. It comes down to your great leadership.
I mean, it comes down to practice, right? Like that's the thing too, that I think a lot of women get really frustrated when it doesn't happen overnight, because on the internet, we are sold overnight success, right?
And
We are
it doesn't
sold.
exist.
It doesn't at all. But then that's where we get, frustrated because we think that there's something wrong with us. And for me, it's like, think about, there's another visual for you. If you like visuals, think of your brain as a superhighway. Right? Your brain loves efficiency. So if you have been telling yourself you're not good enough, or somebody when you were a kid told you weren't good enough or whatever, you've got this, it's down the superhighway. Cool. We know this. And what you're trying to do is literally like take a hard left off of the superhighway and create a new road where it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen overnight. Right.
It's
But
not
we
that easy.
expect it to. So I think for me, it's really like, when the guilt comes up, the shame comes up, the imposter syndrome, the what am I doing? I try to be really compassionate with myself, like I would a toddler who doesn't realize that the knife is dangerous. And I say, I try to have a lot of just breathe, let it go. I find that like physically, like opening my hands and letting it go is helpful for me, because I can tell myself to let it go all day long. But like sometimes I will just literally like open my hands and let it go and just breathe and literally let your heart rate come back down before you move forward. It's not gonna take long. Like it literally, that's the thing too, I recently learned, is that like the most that like those negative emotions, those negative feelings, it's like 90 seconds if you just allow the emotion.
Love that.
If we just
Gosh,
allow it.
great wisdom.
So the most you're going to be as uncomfortable as you are is a minute and a half. And you can do anything for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And then, kindly redirect it like you would the toddler. Redirect it. We're building a new road. There is
Just
no
take
road here.
control of your brain. It's
Yeah.
your thoughts. You can decide what to think.
Amen.
That's so good. Oh, Ryann, it's so good. Thank you so much for
Of
your
course.
experience, sharing your story and how you help women. And I love your mission. And I'm so pleased that I crossed our paths crossed, and I'm
Yes.
so honored to have you here.
Thank you. Well, thank you for asking. This is a topic of mine a topic that I really love to talk about because I think it's so important as women, as business owners, to really realize how much control we actually have. Because I think that's where the power stands, right? When we take back control of ourselves. And I just love that you're doing this and the people that you're bringing together.
Love it. Thank you so much, Ryann. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. I could talk to you for hours, but I know you're an incredibly busy woman and helping women around the world and get their dreams alive. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.